Are you a chiropractor with a struggling practice, having a hard time finding and keeping patients? Is your staff falling short of expectations? I'm Dr. Scott Sawyer, and DC Trainings has the answers that you need. So tune in now and find out how. Hello, everybody. Welcome to DC Trainings. I'm Dr. Scott Sawyer. It's great to be with you today. We are going to dive into the next section of our current module, which is Module 2, or New Patients. And our current week is on subluxation education. And this is an exciting topic. I hold the term subluxation near and dear to my heart. It's something that has been with us since the beginning of chiropractic. You can see behind me on the wall, there's a picture of B.J. Palmer. And so I want to just read to you from one of the original textbooks. Now, just a little bit of history. B.J. Palmer wrote a series of books, and he is considered to be the developer of the chiropractic profession, while his father, D.D. Palmer, is considered to be the founder of the chiropractic profession. So BJ wrote a book, has written a series of books, or had written a series of books, and they're called the Green Books because they were bound in this green color. And there was a book that was written not by BJ Palmer, but by another chiropractor who was Dr. Stevenson. And Dr. Stevenson's book was actually endorsed by BJ Palmer so highly that it was allowed to be bound as one of the Green Books. So in this book, I just want to read to you a passage because it has to do with our topic today. And the first passage I want to read to you is actually an acknowledgement or a recognition from B.J. Palmer to Dr. Stevenson, where he says in this section, he says, of all the books written and compiled on chiropractic philosophy, this one is by far the best, not accepting my own. The one great, grand, and glorious thing you have done has been to compile the many principles which are in my writings into a systematic, organized manner, building them up from simple to the higher forms, so that any layman inclined could investigate and find out what chiropractic is not, what it does and does not, and how and why it does what it does. You have clearly, carefully, and consistently compiled the many principles of chiropractic into a readable, understandable book, simple enough for the layman and deep enough for the savant. Okay, so then I jump ahead in the book to the section on subluxation, which is our topic today. So what Dr. Stevenson then writes, and that was the acknowledgement from B.J. Palmer, but what he writes is the chiropractic definition of subluxation. A subluxation is the condition of a vertebra that has lost its proper juxtaposition with the one above or the one below, or both, to an extent less than a luxation, which impinges nerves and interferes with the transmission of mental impulses. Period. That's the definition of a subluxation. Now, I know this book was written quite a long time ago. This was actually written in 1927, and it's an original first print edition. So this book was printed in 1927, literally. But the point I want to make is, look how many different paradigms, which is like a way of thinking, medicine has gone through since 1927. Nearly 100 years ago was when that book was written. And the changes that have happened in medicine, separate from chiropractic, have been extraordinary. I mean, extreme even, right? The different approaches to healthcare and how we help patients. But here we are in 2023, talking about this condition, a subluxation, which we hold near and dear to our hearts, and it's unique to the chiropractic profession. And that definition that was written over 100 years ago, well, almost 100 years ago, sorry, is still to this day our primary term in chiropractic. Now, I'm setting the stage here because I want you to feel comfortable in using this term. I want this to be a huge part of your practice because it is something that has remained constant through the century of chiropractic development in terms of healthcare. And to this day, our focus is unique to chiropractic in the sense that our intention and the methods of how we help our patients is still based on removing impingement to the nervous system. And I know, there's different definitions and there's different thoughts around using subluxation and how it literally applies with what we know now versus what we knew 100 years ago. But that's still something that we have near and dear to our hearts that we can use as an educational tool to help our patients understand how to better care for themselves, how to better organize their health care, and to use our hands as chiropractors to enhance their health potential through the removal of subluxations. So hopefully that will set the stage for you in a way that really encourages you to incorporate what I'm going to teach you today in the education of your patients. Remember, the word doctor is derived from a Latin word docere, which means to teach. So it's our job and our responsibility to teach our patients. And in my opinion, the icing on the cake is that we need to teach our patients this term called a subluxation. So that's what we're going to dive into today. And I'm going to show you how to incorporate this into your approach to educating patients. So let's dive in here and go through this part of how we do this. Let's see, I have to share my screen, sorry. Okay, there we go. And of course, as always, as we go through our materials today, please let me know if you have any questions, if you have anything I can help you with to help you build this in. I'll be happy to open up your line, or you can type in your question and we'll dive into that. All right, so you can see my screen here, and I have one more thing I have to move here that will help me. And part of kicking off this podcast today is to really helping you to implement this. And so this is just one piece of our 8-week series. When we finish the 8-week series, then we'll dive into the next module, which is the report of findings module, where I'll show you how to lay out a care plan and really set your patient up for what will ultimately be lifetime chiropractic care. So in this instance, ask yourself if your patients could receive a simpler explanation about subluxations so they really get it. And I see, on our attendance list today, I see Dr. Kinich, Dr. Wells. Obviously in chiropractic school, this is just ingrained in deep to our core, right? The subluxation and how we feel about the problems they cause. But let's share this with our teams too, because through our CAs and through our teams, we can then spread the message to our patients. So today we're going to talk about how to kind of put this on the lower shelf where everyone can reach it, as they say. Okay, so the first thing is I'm sorry, and let me back up for a second because I want to go back to what we talked about in last week's webinar, and that is really the memorable welcome, right? That wow greeting, that great first impression. And we took that there's two parts to the memorable welcome. One is at the front desk when the new patient first walks in and they get this wow greeting. And then it transfers to the next part where that new patient is then taken into your consultation room. And then we go into the next step. So here we are walking into the consultation room. And as I've shown you, to make that great first impression, you want to have some impressive content or environment. You want to have an impressive environment for that new patient to see when they come walking in. That's different than what they're used to at maybe a standard medical office or a standard dental office. We want to have this be more of a, wow, this is cool. I like this. I'm feeling cared for, right? So how do we set that up? Well, there's some things that you can put up in your consultation room that gives an unspoken message to the patient about your professionalism, about your authority about the subject, and about your ability to help them become healthier. So on the screen here, you can see that we want an impressive consultation room decor. So when they walk in, they're going to see diplomas. Obviously, we went to school for a long time to become doctors. They're going to see family photos. They're going to see testimonials, right? Testimonials are just an endorsement from other patients who were struggling with their health and then came in and had amazing results. So those testimonials are an unspoken endorsement of your services. Educational posters are going to be really important too, or a neuropathylator, which if you're not sure what that is, I'll show you a picture of that in a minute. But these educational posters we're going to use to explain the subluxations and explain how that correlates or how this condition can affect certain parts of the body, which would then result in symptoms or health problems. We also want to have living plants. And I love to share this example. I shared it at the seminar, but we have patients sometimes that come in with concerns about x-rays. And we do take x-rays in my office because I want to actually see the subluxation. And I just recently, I have to share this story with you real quickly, but I just had a young woman come in. I think she was maybe 18 or 19, and she was having neck pain. And I palpated her spine, and I went through her oral exam. And then based on those findings, I could tell there was a subluxation, and it was in her lower neck, right about well, I don't want to say lower, maybe mid neck, maybe C3, C4. I could feel it was just really jammed in there and even kind of swollen. So I thought, well, that, it's obviously a subluxation. It's not moving well. Let's get some x-rays and see how long this subluxation has been there. Well, we took an x-ray, and lo and behold, the x-ray showed that C3, C2, C3, and C4 were congenitally fused. Now, obviously, if I had attempted an adjustment there, it probably wouldn't have moved, probably wouldn't have resulted in much other than, maybe the patient wouldn't have a good response or a positive result. But it would have been frustrating for me when I'm trying to get this bone to move and it wasn't moving, but then later to find out the reason why it wasn't moving was because those bones were congenitally fused. So obviously we can adjust the adjacent bones to get the right response and help the patient. But I was sure thankful and happy that I did take those x-rays so that I could see in a much clearer way how I can provide the best care for this patient. So anyways, just a side story there that I thought I'd share with you. If you're kind of on the fence about x-rays, whether or not to x-ray, I'm a big fan. BJ Palmer was a big fan. He took x-rays, Clarence Gonstead. Obviously, there's times when we don't take x-rays, but to stay on point, the reason why I shared that story with you is because on your screen, you see one of the items that adds to the impressiveness of your consultation room is living plants. Living plants show that there's life, there's vibrance, there's vitality. And we have a living plant that's in our x-ray room. It's a very healthy, beautiful plant, and it has a little window next to it, so it gets some sunlight. But the point of that is I've had patients come in that express concerns about getting x-rays, and I just point to that plant and say, that plant's in here, and it gets x-rayed every day, and look how healthy it is. So obviously these x-rays are going to be very minimal when compared to the potential damage that would come from a condition that could degenerate your spine or even cause permanent nerve damage. And 99.7% of the time, when that has come up, patients say, oh, wow, that's a good point. That plant seems to be doing fine. Okay, yeah, let's get the x-rays. So anyways, just a little side topic there, but having that in there is important. We also have Kleenex, because sometimes when someone's sharing an emotional concern, and maybe they've been suffering for a long time, and things can get very emotional when you're diving in and asking about how it's affecting them. And maybe I had recently a mom who has been unable to care for her children. She has 2 children, and both of them, she has felt like she hasn't been able to do what's necessary to take care of her children because of the health problems that she's been having. So things can get a little emotional, and it's a very nice gesture and an empathetic way to be able to hand someone a Kleenex or a tissue and say, I'm so sorry for what you're going through. We're going to do our best to help you, and to give them hope through that. So let me show you an example of what this would look like in a consultation room, because the way it's laid out, this is just one of we have 2 consultation rooms in my office. This is the way it's laid out in one of them. And I'll just go through those items. So we have testimonials in the background here. There's a couple of them. And I'll just point out that one nice thing to have, and this, you can determine this based on where you practice and what type of focus you have, what type of patients you see within your practice. But we take care of a lot of children. And this testimonial in the background here is a child who was suffering with allergies and asthma and had just amazing results. And so there's a lot of parents that come in with their children or parents that come into the office and they see that testimonial on their first visit. And we get lots of referrals of parents referring their children in for allergies just based on what they saw at that first visit. So this can be a real stimulator for people to see, and they'll start referring others based on that. As I mentioned, the diplomas here, that's up there. It shows that we have some authority on the subject. We have an education and a background. There's more diplomas over here on the side. We also have another testimonial because in my office, we see a lot of personal injury cases. And there's this story on the wall is about a woman who had a severe car accident. There's a picture of her crumpled up car. There's pictures or actual samples of the medications that she was taking. There's a picture of her right after the accident with the cervical collar on, and there's the cervical collar. And then there's a picture of me with her holding the collar later on when she's had chiropractic care and the injury is resolved. So another really great stimulator for your patients to see that, and they'll think, wow, my friend was just in a car accident. Wow, they really need to come here. So these are ways you can sort of plant the seed and stimulate more referrals in the direction of the different types of cases that you would like to see. If you'd like to see more PI cases, put up a PI testimonial in your consultation room. You want to see more children, put up testimonials of children around the office, and you'll get more of those referrals. Now, let's keep going. So that we have the diploma. There's some Kleenex or tissues down here. There's also our information right here, which we're going to go over today as I move forward through the information. There's a living plant, and there's 2 comfortable chairs because many times a new patient will come in with someone else. So we want to make sure that they get a great first impression as well. And then just remember, you only have one chance to make a great first impression. So this is it. That's what it looks like. Let's keep going, and I'll show you so this is now back out to the lobby, right? We did our memorable welcome part 1. Now we're going to go into the memorable welcome part 2, which is where your new patient CA is walking the new patient into the consultation room. For those of you who just have one CA, doctors, I said this last week, but I'm going to repeat it because it's important. Your CA should do this part. And if it requires, doctors, that you run the front desk while your CA does this, that has much more value than you saying, doctor, this is to the doctors, than you saying, no, that's okay, I'll do it because I want to keep my CA at the front desk. Incorporate your CAs into this. This is a great value-added feature of your practice. It also adds a really great value for your CAs to learn to be more involved with your patients. So another great way to make a first impression. So that's escort. The CA is the one escorting the new patient to the consultation room. And then we explain the signatures. For this, I'm going to jump over to the website for just a minute because I want to show you. Actually, I lost my toolbar there. Okay, here we go. How do I do this? Oh, why is it? Okay, there we go. Sorry, my mouse is not functioning quite good there. Okay, so let me jump back over here, and I want to do something real quick to fix that. And it's not okay. That's okay. So I'm going to jump over to the website for a minute because I want to show you the forms that we have on the website. And this is what we call the signing ceremony. In the signing ceremony, you're basically setting up the patient's file and getting everything organized in a way. Now, we call it the signing ceremony because that has a little more spiz than let's sign some forms, okay? It sounds better. And at the same time, when we go through these forms, I'll encourage you, because sometimes it's the subtle ways that you say things, don't say, let's sign your forms or let's have you fill out some paperwork. A nicer way to say that is, let's set up your file. You know, let's make you part of our practice, join our family. So the way you phrase these little things can, again, make a really great difference in part of this memorable welcome sequence that we're talking about. So here on the website, we have all of our materials for this week. We also have our upcoming seminar. Next seminar is going to be on May 20th. And this will be module 3, which is going to be a virtual seminar through Zoom. But module 4, I want to remind you, is going to be our next live seminar. So already, if you can start planning ahead for July 22nd, that's our financial arrangement seminar. I would love to see all of you attend in person. It'll be at my office. and we'll go through all the details of financial arrangements and how to set up those financial arrangements around the care plans that you'll be learning to set up in Module 3. So next live seminar, again, will be on July 22nd, but our next seminar will be May 20th. Okay, so let's go back up here and look at the materials. So, and I have already opened them up, so I'm just going to go through them basically from top to bottom. So up here, we have the subluxation information, which you can print this directly off the website. What I would recommend that you do is you laminate this form. And you're going to want to laminate this with one other form, which is in Module 6. And I didn't open that one because I want to show you where to find it. So if we go into training and we go into Module 6 and we look at the materials under marketing, let's see, I have it here. It's under Health Talk Marketing. So it's the chart of effects. So this material, so Module 6, Week 5 is the orientation talk chart of effects. This form, which I can make bigger for you, is what you'll put on the back of the subluxation information. So if you print this out and then you print this out and you laminate them together, that's what that'll give you the front and back side of the this form. Now, I'm explaining that to you so you can create your own. Whenever you come to a live seminar, for all of you, those of you who are new, you'll actually receive a laminated copy of this when you come and pick up your binders. So we'll have this for you. If you don't have one yet, we'll have it for you. But in the meantime, you can create your own. I have one for each one of my consultation rooms, which is 3. So I have 3 of these for the office that we use, and we just recycle or repeat the use of them with each of our new patients. So anyway, so that's how that works. But if we go back over to here, on the subluxation information, this has specific information about subluxations, which, going back to this book, you're going to want to incorporate this in terms of your education so that your patients understand and value the uniqueness of chiropractic care and how it stands out or stands above, depending on how you look at it, but in my opinion, it stands above all other forms of healthcare that a patient can access. So just a really great form. Okay, so with that, we have the subluxation information that's on there for you. And then we also have the script that goes with that. And it's a very simple script, but it's also a very important script. It says, this provides detailed information about the most common condition we take care of and one of the most common causes of blank symptom, whatever the patient's chief complaint is. The condition is called a subluxation. Can you please pronounce it for me? Subluxation. This form contains valuable information. Please also pay attention to the gray box, which lists the different components to help us determine if you have a subluxation. On the back, please review the list of common symptoms to see if any apply for you. And that's the chart of effects handout that I just showed you. I'm going to step out to complete your file. And when I return, I'll ask you some questions about the condition, and the doctor will also discuss this with you when he comes in. So that's there for you. Now, remember, and we talked about this last time, but at the seminar, when a new patient comes in to see you as part of the education process, our goal is for them to leave with a new understanding of how we'll be able to help them beyond just pain relief, right? This is like top shelf stuff. This is the best of the best. You have the optimum potential to receive your highest level of healthcare because you're going to be subluxation free. Like, that's exciting, right? So when a new patient comes in during the course of that first visit, we're going to ask them to say the word subluxation 3 times, and we're going to ask them to define it once. Now, I know what you're thinking right now. We're not in kindergarten anymore. But as part of that education process, it's important to have the patient participating in this education. So in pursuit of participation, this is what's needed for somebody to have a better understanding of subluxation. So if you're concerned about the patient thinking, well, this is weird, why are you having me repeat it? You can do it kind of tongue in cheek. You can say, now I'm going to have you, and again, I'm kind of going back to the script I just read, but when I'm saying the part where this is called a subluxation, can you please pronounce it for me? I might say that more like this, and I'll use an example with Dr. John, you're on the call. This condition is called a subluxation, and I don't have mine right in front of me, but if I were, I'll hold this book instead. So on here is this condition called a subluxation. Now, if you don't mind, go ahead and pronounce it for me. And I say that with a smile, like I'm kind of inviting it. I know it's kind of a joke. Excuse me. It's kind of, I almost say it like I'm joking a little bit, just like, okay, just play along. It's, it's not that big of a deal just to say it back. If a patient says, why are you asking me this question? This is insulting. I'm not in kindergarten anymore. Then my response, because I have had patients take that approach, would be our goal here is to provide you with a better understanding so you don't continue down the path that you're on. In order to not continue down the path that you're on, because you've obviously been hurting and you've been, that's why you're here, is because you're hurting, we're going to teach you ways to better take care of yourself. In order for you to take better care of yourself, you're going to need to understand how you got to where you're at. And that way you can be in control in terms of how you get out of it. From there, the patient understands, yes, I'm serious. I want to teach. I mean, unless you want to be dependent on me for the rest of your life, coming in here and getting adjusted, all the time because you're hurting, then let's just play along with this because I'm going to teach you some things. And it goes back to that saying that says, you can give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. You can teach a man to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. So I'm about to teach you how to fish. So if you're not interested in that, then you can go down to the store and buy a fish. You'll eat for a day. You're fine. Now, I'm being a little over dramatic about that, but I want to make sure that all of us are thinking bigger than ourselves in terms of educating our patients so that they can take better care of themselves. We need to think big, right? As BJ Palmer said, and Dr. Stevenson as well. Anyway, so I just wanted to share that with you. Let's jump back over to our screen and look at the rest of the materials for this week. So that's the subluxation information script. The next one is going into what I call the signing ceremony, right? We're just setting up their file, or we're preparing their file, and we're going to have some forms that are signed. So we have the records release. There's 2 of these per page. So you can print these directly off the website, and then you can cut them in half. It's just a half sheet. Then we have the case types. This is important for determining what type of case this patient's going to be. It might be that they have general health insurance. It might be that they're going to be private pay or cash pay. It might be that they have a work injury. It might be that they have an auto accident. So you can use this to specify the parameters of how their care is going to be structured in your office. And it's important to have this signed. For example, with health insurance, it's important to have the patient signing an acknowledgement. So there's informed consent about whether you're going to bill their insurance directly, whether there's going to be out-of-pocket costs. So that's there for you, the case types. The next part of the signing ceremony is another required form for setting up their file, and that's your HIPAA policies, and that has to be signed and dated. So that's there. And then this one is the arbitration agreement. On the arbitration agreement, you're letting them know that if there was ever a dispute between the patient and your office, you're agreeing ahead of time to try to resolve it through arbitration. That saves the cost of attorney fees, saves the cost of trial. It's just a first step in trying to resolve any kind of a dispute. Now, I've been in practice for 27 years. I've never used this form once, but by having this form on file, my malpractice insurance gives me a significant discount on my rates because they know that in the long term, if something were to come up, that going through an arbitration as a way to try to resolve it initially is much less expensive than the alternative. So that's why we have this form. It affords us a discount on our malpractice insurance, and that's there for you as well. On the back side of that form is the informed consent, which this one is really important, right? They're all really important, but this is actually a required, if you practice in California or any state, you have to have informed consent. It has to be signed. So I'm not sure what insurance all of you use for your malpractice, but my malpractice is through Stu Hoffman, Dr. Stuart Hoffman with ChiroSecure. And again, they give us a nice discount for having that form. So what I do when I come into the room, and we're going to get to this in a future section here, but so my CAs pull out the form, they explain it, which I have the script for you, and the patient signs it. When I come in as the doctor to do my doctor's exam, I also have to initial that I covered the informed consent with the patient. Very important. So I asked the patient, did you have any questions about our informed consent? I know my staff went over it with you, but I just wanted to ask if you have any questions or if there's anything I can explain further. Nope, doc, that's fine. Okay, great. And then I initial it right down here and I date it. So this form has the patient's signature, it has the CA's signature, and it has the doctor's signature all on this one form. So that's also important. And then lastly, we have the consent for a minor. Obviously, if you take care of children, then this would be signed by the parent, and that's on there for you as well. Now, as always, there's more with DC trainings than meets the eye. So on our resources page, under the custom forms, we have those forms available for you in here, and you can just pull those up. I'll just use the records release. Oh, well, I'd have to download it, but you can download those, put them right into your computer at your office. You can add your letterhead, and away you go, and it's a custom form for your office. So that's there for you as well. All right. So with that, let's jump back into our PowerPoint, because I'll show you, now that you've seen what's on the website, I want to show you how this works in terms of the flow in your office. And let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. And as I said before, if there's any questions, please let me know. I want to make sure we get all your questions answered. There it is. Okay, so the initial greeting by the new patient CA happens. We escort the patient to the consultation room, and then we explain and obtain the signatures. So that's all happening. And and then we'll just continue on. So let me show you this next one. So here's the forms that I just went through, right? We have all the signatures on all these forms, and those are all set. Now, there may be other ones that you need for your case type, and we have those forms available to you as well. But I'll move on, because you're getting the flow of this, right? We took the patient in the room, they looked around and thought, wow, this is great. What a great first impression. There's, everything's placed or staged, if you want, in a way that creates, again, just professionalism and a patient who's really eager to start care with you. So we want to have all that placed correctly. This one here, I just went through on the website, but obviously this is an important one in terms of educating our patients about the main condition that we take care of. Then, so the patient, the CA goes through that form, follows the script, which I just read you. Before the CA exits, the patient pronounces the subluxation, right? They say the word, and we covered that because I don't want you to be intimidated when you're asking a patient to repeat that word for you. Then there on that subluxation script, there's a gray box on the front which shows the components of the subluxation. And actually, I have my binder right here, so I can show you what I'm referring to. So I'm on the gray box, that's right here. And I'm referring to this, let me actually do this, because in this gray box is the 5 components of a subluxation. So I went back to the I told you the story about the X-ray and the live plant. Well, these 5 components are what happen when there's a subluxation. So again, this builds understanding, and it also builds a desire for the patient to make sure they don't have subluxations. They want to get this condition corrected and fixed, and it builds on that commitment to doing this. How does this translate to your practice? Well, in the long run, you're going to see better education, so your patients understand why they're coming to see you. They want chiropractic care as part of their ongoing healthcare package, which is going to build to your retention, and it's going to add referrals, right? All of these things start to connect and build on each other in a way that helps you to maintain your practice volume where you want it. Okay, so we have the text box on the front side. That's here. On the back, I showed you, that's the chart of effects. So that's on there for you. And you'll put those 2 forms together. I just took them over to Office Depot and had them laminated, and then away you go. Then you might offer a beverage. I know we haven't actually been doing this for a little while. We had it going for a long time. When the winter months are more cold and rainy and everything, we have We have water, but we also have tea. We'll offer our patients tea. We have a water dispenser right at the front of the office, and it's filtered water. So a lot of our patients have just gotten water right from there. So you could offer this as an extra added value. And then in case the doctor asks, we're going to have them repeat the word subluxation. Okay, so remember how this works. They came in, they sat down, we did the signing ceremony, or I'm sorry, we showed them the subluxation information, explained that that's the condition we're going to be taking care of, and then we're just getting ready to leave, and we asked them one more time. So they'll repeat the word subluxation in case the doctor asks. All right. And again, the part where I have in case the doctor asks is, again, just in case, the patient feels like, well, this is kind of insulting. Why are you asking me to say this again? The doctor's going to ask you probably. And so I just want to make sure you're ready for when the doctor comes in. Okay. So again, I want to make sure it's done in a nurturing, kind of welcoming, fun environment, not a, hey, you have to say this or else kind of way. That's not how that comes across at all. So after the CA leaves, now the patient's left in the room with this, and they're reading through it while the CA is gone. So now CAs, you're outside the room and you're making sure that the patient information is all completed, that everything's filled in, you have everything that you need. One thing that's going to be really important is to make sure you know what the preferred method of contact is. Some patients want to be text messaged, other patients want to receive an email, other patients want a direct phone call. So find out what the preferred communication style is of that patient. Put a little checkbox next to that on their information form. And that way down the road, if they miss an appointment or you need to reach out to them, you know the best way to get in touch with them. I'm not much of a texter. So if you were to text me messages, you might not see an answer from me for days. So, but I know there's many patients that prefer texting. And so that's a good thing to know. And this is the time to find that out. Create the new file in your computer. So put their information in and then add that information to the consultation details, which I can show you on here. So let me just grab that real quick. There we go. I want to just show you on the form real quick because go through the signing ceremony here. We're going to get into this more next week, but on here, when I say add the information to the consultation details, I'm just saying add their name, the date, whether they're a new patient or a reactivating new patient. If they're a reactivating new patient, you'd add the last x-ray and their last adjustment dates, and then what type of case type they are. That's it. So that's all you're setting up. The rest of this is going to be filled in as you go through the consultation, which I'll show you next week. But when I say add the information to the consultation details, again, I'll just point that out because it's just a small amount. You're just filling in their name, the date, whether they're a new patient or a reactivating new patient. If they're reactivating, it's the last x-ray, the last adjustment, and what case type. So it's just that. Now, as we go through the upcoming webinars in the upcoming couple of weeks here, I'm going to show you how to fill this out as we go down the process of completing that. So moving right along, we've added that information into the consultation details form, and then return to the room. Maybe there's a beverage. The entire absence is less than 5 minutes. Now, while you're gone for that 5 minutes, and I put my, I had my laminated, I put the laminated version away, I'm sorry. So anyways, the subluxation information, they've had that. You return to the room, it's less than 5 minutes, and now we begin the consultation. So that's what we'll get into next week, and I'll show you the consultation details. All right, so with that, let me jump back over to the website. And this would be a good time too. If you have questions or there's something I can answer for you, let me know. Actually, there's no, we covered all that. Okay, there is one more thing on the website I was going to show you, and that is that we have this video. So this is really great. I'm actually working with a new CA right now, and we've been going through the videos that are on the website and showing them to her. So it's great because as an example right here, we have the subluxation education demo. So this video shows me explaining the subluxation to a new patient in a way that helps them to understand how we're going to be caring for them. So you can see that video. It's just a short video. It's less than 1 minute, but that's a great tool for you to give to your team. And then they can then learn on their own, or they can also use that to train together and make sure that they know the materials. As always, let me know if there's any questions. It's been great to be with you, and I will talk to you next week.
If you would like to become a member of DC Trainings, be sure to head on over to dctrainings.com to get started today.